Hello, everybody. Wait, you were literally banned from the station?
For assaulting the former president.
This checks out.
Indeed, Kale lost his temper and struck him, resulting in a nasal fracture with a deviated septum, if I recall.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume he deserved it.
He said something offensive regarding Vanessa's need for a fully functional nanosystem to utilize her prosthetics properly. It is one instance where I find myself tempted to condone the act of violence.
Damn! Okay, well done. Wow, Ari was condoning it? It must have been pretty bad.
Indeed. It is troubling that there are still those in this world for whom physical violence appears to be the only way to make them listen properly.
But that was the former president. The one that was, kicked out.
His son is the current and temporary president of Ventus. It seems he is still nervous about allowing Caleb aboard. Perhaps with good reason if he has adopted any of his father's more irritating personality traits.
I suppose that's fair. So their nanite suppression is significant enough Vanessa has a difficult time there?
Correct. Their nanite saturation in Solemn is a mere tenth of the planetary average. It's far easier for them to suppress active nanites in internal nanosystems than it is here. Also a completely enclosed environment, so that makes it much easier to maintain minimal nanite activity. It'd be impossible to replicate that on the surface outside of places with a similar saturation level. Makes the station difficult to navigate for Vaughn, though.
I was wondering why we were going with what seemed like an unusual arrangement of agents.
Mara cannot go to the station for safety reasons. She still struggles to control her phasing ability at times and will pass through solid surfaces unintentionally.
That's not good.
Here on Arcalis, it's never posed too serious a problem. I think that time she left her shirt in the wall while walking into a room full of trainees could be construed as a problem.
Well, depends on the trainees. They may have enjoyed it.
I believe at least some of those trainees would beg to disagree.
See? I knew it.
Even were that not the case, it is still not as serious as phasing into the vacuum of space.
That did sound horrifying.
The point is that we travel with a modified guard team in instances our presence is required. Caleb used to go up as well, but now... Not my fault Lyra is so keen to protect his precious nose and perfect cheekbones. Perfect? What high praise. I had no idea you found Cowrie Lyra attractive, though I suppose he does seem like your type. You have no idea what my type is, YUU. I believe I've known you long enough to have a basic grasp of it. Doesn't matter anyway. Someone can be pretty to look at, but still have a lousy personality.
You smirked at him over the top of his cup as he took a sip. Just...
I am not talking about you, so don't even give me that look. Are you suggesting you do not find me pretty? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, damn it.
Ari's just like, please shoot me. Oh, dang! Really? Affectionate? In chapter 2?
Go on.
And Caleb's immediately rolling his eyes again. It's alright, YUU. I'm sure many of us here find you pretty.
Perhaps not many. However, do you find me pretty, Morgan? I admit I'm curious.
I'd walked right into that one, hadn't I? Something about the look on his face and the way he asked it made me flush warm. And I suddenly remembered once again what Caleb had said about him being a flirt. I still managed to return the smile. Yeah, that's you returning the smile. Okay. Perhaps.
Fascinating.
He rested his chin on his hand and gave me that curious little smile of his. Ari and Caleb are here as like third and fourth wheels. It's so awkward. Oh no, I need to escape.
I'm intrigued by the idea of what about my appearance you find appealing. Ugh. Can you two please not? Some of us are trying to have a relaxing evening. No one asked you to do it here. In fact, I don't believe either of us asked you to join us this evening. You are free to leave if you like.
Caleb leaned back, giving you a sharp grin.
No, I don't think I will. Then do keep your complaints to yourself. No. As you can see, this attitude is part of why he was banned from New Terra. If you want me to give you a first-hand explanation of why I was banned from New Terra, I will. And, of course, you resort to violence when outwitted. Please. You couldn't outwit me if you tried, old man.
Old man? You couldn't be much older than the rest of us.
Has the definition of old changed recently? Or shall I find a dictionary for you to download and read to refresh your obviously ailing memory? Morgan, I was curious and have not yet had the opportunity to ask, so perhaps while you and Caleb are arguing over trivial matters...
Yeah, sorry, let's have an adult conversation over here.
For what purpose did Magnus call you to his office this morning? Neither of you explained it. Initially, I believed he wanted to brief you prior to telling the rest of us about the assignment so you wouldn't be surprised. But that didn't seem to be the case. That was obviously not the case, given he was lying about having invited you. I take that to mean you initiated the meeting. You initiated it.
How did you know he was lying, by the way? You said that in his office, too.
Would you really like a detailed explanation of his physiological tells when he's attempting to deceive others? Most people have them, though they differ person to person. Magnus's are particularly obvious given how long I've known him. No. Morgan, say no. Because I can already tell it's going to be annoying to listen to him explain that.
Maybe another time. To answer the question, though, You, do you recall how you told me to look into Endgame's regulations about agent placement? So I would have ammunition when it came to convincing the Council to not place me in a combat unit?
Of course.
I did that. And it sent me on a research spiral that led me to looking into the Triad's legislation about espers, particularly unregistered adults like myself. And I realized that based on the actual laws, I don't legally have to be here. And Endgame's supposed legal right to apprehend me is tenuous at best. I like that Caleb's the only one that looks surprised here.
Tenuous in what sense? You were in danger. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in support of the way it was handled. We've talked about this. But Endgame was within...
It wasn't, Caleb. It wasn't within its rights based on what's written in the actual legal code. Okay, now Ari's like, excuse? At least not as unequivocally as the Council says and everyone seems to think. Not in any sense other than Endgame operating outside the legal system and no one questioning it. Because the laws are somewhat vague. The laws indicate dangerous espers should be apprehended, and it doesn't describe what dangerous means. Just that it should be clear and present. Which... I shrugged. I'm not dangerous. And the laws don't really say you get to apprehend someone for the crime of being in danger. Anyway, I was discussing that annoying gray area with Magnus.
Trying to get him to let you go home?
Trying to suss out my options.
I admit I've never looked up the exact legal code within various nations. Perhaps because there was never a need. Perhaps because Endgame tends to operate outside the normal confines of any one legal system. But it is a curious matter when it comes to how that intertwines with individuals who are subject to those laws. The Triad's laws may not apply to Endgame. They do, however, apply to its citizens, which includes you. The question of how Endgame fits into the legal system is never questioned outside of the macro. Not in meaningful ways. When it comes to ability to determine the fate of individuals. It's hard to question it when an individual is so easily silenced, isn't it? Precisely. I was not aware you...
He frowned, looking away. My gaze dropped to his clasped hands as he tapped his right four middle fingers against the knuckles of his other hand. Oh, Ari! He's emotional. No, Ari! YUU was the one that leaned forward and spoke next, setting one hand on Ari's arm.
What do you intend to do, Morgan? You have been adapting to this environment, but clearly have not given up on the possibility of leaving.
I don't know what I intend to do.
Speaking with Magnus didn't yield a useful path towards your goal.
I thought about the things we talked about. Who knew how useful that was, or how realistic a path? Either way, I didn't believe I could, or should, readily share those things with the others. Not yet. And not here, anyway. Yeah, the time will come, but it is not yet. Magnus hadn't said to keep it secret, but I suspected it wasn't something he wanted me casually discussing in the lounge. Not that I could imagine one of the others running to tell the council. But it wasn't like there weren't numerous rooks around capable of eavesdropping. I don't know. But you're right that I haven't quite given up yet. You must have seen my discomfort with the subject because he leaned back and something like a regretful smile passed over his face.
Perhaps it's enough of this talk. It isn't exactly work talk anymore, but it is tangential. And we have discussed it more than enough for one evening. Not like anyone here has anything else interesting to talk about. That fact is precisely why we should avoid it. Morgan, would you care for a walk? Elsewhere. Perhaps the garden. Just the two of us, of course. Be careful before you accept that. Nonsense. Morgan is well aware that it's perfectly fine to spend time alone with me, and I, for one, would enjoy a conversation without your incessant cries for attention.
I'd like that too. A walk, of course. I wouldn't dream of insulting Caleb's incessant cries for attention. I mean, he's better than some other rooks I know. Jack.
YUU
stood and offered me his hand, which I took, glad he had changed the topic. And amused because he was never subtle when he did it. We both ignored Caleb's indignant sputtering. The way YUU felt no need for pretenses was refreshing. I waved to Ari and Caleb, the latter of whom responded with a characteristic eye roll as we left. So many eye rolls.
I hope you will still accompany me on a walk now that we're away from the others. My request wasn't exclusively to help extract you from an uncomfortable interaction, or to discontinue work-related discussions.
It hadn't even occurred to me the request for a walk was a ruse to get me out of there. Or that he'd assume I might have accepted with the intention of not actually going with him. Who hurt you, YUU? You? Who hurt you, and how do I hurt them? I wasn't that uncomfortable. Not enough to accept a walk I didn't want. You didn't have to go as far as to help me escape.
You weren't uncomfortable enough for me to help you escape. I'm not aware of an objective threshold for discomfort that indicates to what point I should let it slide.
I concede there isn't one.
Then making an executive decision that even mild discomfort warranted a judicious escape is fine, is it not?
It is, I suppose. Thank you. But, for the record, I didn't agree to the walk just to escape.
I am pleased to hear that.
As always, the garden was a literal breath of fresh air. We were able to walk in silence for a while, just enjoying the beauty. YUU paused here and there to poke at the plants. His curiosity about the world around him was almost tangible.
Perhaps a walk around the gardens would have been more enjoyable to coming to the garden.
Oh, sorry. I read gardens instead of grounds. Let me try that again.
Perhaps a walk around the grounds would have been more enjoyable to coming to the garden once again.
I like it here. I mean, it's nice outside too, but the garden is lovely.
Even so, we've enjoyed a walk together here before. Perhaps a change of scenery would have been more interesting.
It's about the company, not the location, isn't it?
Yes. I believe it is the company that makes it particularly enjoyable. Even so.
He paused to study a large leaf with glowing veins, tracing slender fingers over them thoughtfully. He looked up, expression unreadable.
As much as this is a nice place to decompress and relax, I was considering the fact that you haven't properly seen Brazil yet, due to the chaperone requirement. Would you like to spend the day in the city before our trip to New Terra? I believe we are both scheduled for time off the day before, and I would be happy to show you the area.
Oh, I'd like that. The others keep saying we should do it, but we never managed to schedule anything.
Excellent. There are a few nearby locations considered endgame haunts. Regardless what the future holds, it might be nice to show them to you while you're here. I imagine Brazil is not dissimilar from Sosalis, but of course it wouldn't hurt for you to learn the layout and see some of it.
I agree, and I can't think of a better tour guide.
Naturally.
I laughed at how casually he accepted that as truth. We started walking again.
You know, I've been at Endgame for many years. I came here when I was a child, like so many others. Though my situation was unique in many ways. I had nowhere else, and this rapidly became my home. Other agents of similar age, Magnus Ulrich, Kale, even Ariel to some degree, became my family. I find sometimes that I can no longer imagine life outside of Endgame, even being aware of the flaws inherent to an organization like this. And I am needed here. The human desire to feel needed is as powerful as the satisfaction from believing we are. But you are different from the rest of us in all these regards. Anyone who struggles to see that is either a fool or naive.
Magnus had said something similar during our meeting, too.
This place has a way of drawing one in and making them forget the outside. Part of that is inherent to its relative isolation. It is a society unto itself. And part of that is by the design of those in charge for the purposes of achieving exactly what I've described. It's a strange feeling sometimes to think that we are caught in that sort of manipulation. We also can't deny that, for many, Endgame is still a community to which we feel we belong. But that is a trap in and of itself when it prevents us from seeing how it cannot become that for everyone.
I studied his profile as we walked, and he eventually looked my way and smiled.
That is, of course, merely my opinion.
He never related his words back to our previous conversation, but of course I knew he was talking about it. And his support of me choosing my own future. I think it's a valid opinion.
I wasn't concerned about its validity, but I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Of course you weren't. He leaned close with an amused grin, causing my face to warm at his sudden incursion into my personal space. My bubble.
Ah, that almost sounds like the sort of reaction Kale would have.
Ah. I'm not sure how I feel about being compared to Caleb.
What I wish to say, Morgan, is that while certain individuals may brighten this dull environment with their presence, they are not obligated to stay here so we can enjoy their company.
Aww. That's so sweet.
Nor are they obligated to become family to us even if the opportunity is presented.
I looked away, face still burning.
I wish I could spend longer with you, but unfortunately I am on call tonight, so I fear I must leave you here.
He stopped and took my arm, tipping my face up to him and almost giving me a heart attack. What? My brain shut down as I stared up at him.
I notice you have period.
He paused, looking down briefly before meeting my eyes again with a smile.
You have dark circles. I don't know why you've been missing sleep, but I hope you're able to rest tonight.
I can't believe he's already, like, toning down the medical jargon with her and, like, I could just say dark circles. You know what? I'm gonna backtrack and just say dark circles. Oh, okay, a medical assessment. That made more sense. Sure, we'll go with that. I'll try, Doctor.
I always appreciate a willing patient, but this time I'm saying it as someone who cares for your well-being, not as a medical professional.
And nope, there went my heart flip-flopping through my chest again. He could be so... Wait. Is this that flirting thing they all keep warning me about? Wait. Was it possible that whole tour guide request was him asking me on a date? An actual date? I like that his face has changed to be like, yeah, girl, I'm asking you out on a date. Am I misreading this? Ugh, now I'm confused. Why is he laughing? Can you read our mind? I'm so confused. A smile spread on Yu's face, and I knew my expression had to be strange. He let out a soft chuckle as if he knew exactly what I was thinking. And that just made my face go hotter. Damn my stupid inability to not wear every single thought on my face.
I admit I'm curious about what thoughts are going through your head right now, but I believe I won't trouble you further by asking.
Okay, I mean, fair. Her face did go through like 5 different emotional changes in the span of like 30 seconds, so fair enough.
It was a fascinating array of expressions, though. I'll see you tomorrow, I hope.
I'm sure you will.
Good night.
He nodded and turned away, leaving me to watch his back as he disappeared around the corner. I sank onto the nearby bench the moment he was out of sight, one hand on my chest. A date? Was it actually a date? He hadn't said that, but we had been spending time together of late. I mean, it's not like there was anything wrong with a date. I'm not opposed to a date. It's not like there was anything wrong with a date. Or dating. It was just unexpected. Then again, I could be misreading it. It might only be a friendly outing. But I didn't want to be obtuse if he wasn't just being friendly. I didn't know him well enough to read his actions yet. Caleb kept warning me about the flirting, but it was also difficult to know if he was teasing. You must flirt with everyone, right? Or was Caleb insinuating there was romantic interest there? Or was I massively overanalyzing this? That was also a possibility. But on the chance YUU was showing romantic interest in me, I had to consider if it was something I wanted to encourage. Especially with that conversation with Magnus. With all my doubts about my future here. It seemed like romance would complicate it all. As if it wasn't already complicated enough. Don't worry, girl. We've been through the ringer with complications and romance before. We can do it again, one last time. I took a deep breath and pressed my icy fingers to my cheeks. There was probably no need to think too hard about it now. Because at this point, I didn't know if I was even interpreting things the right way. But I'd pay more attention to our interactions from now on. I had a feeling if YUU was interested, he wouldn't be ambiguous about it for long anyway. That's true. In spite of myself and all my doubts, though, I was looking forward to it. For more reasons than just getting out of the compound and back to the real world for a while. I returned to my flat shortly after that for a shower and then sleep. Not that it was easy. It had been a wild day, and there were too many thoughts zipping through my mind. I lay there for a long, long time, staring at my ceiling. Magnus, Endgame, laws, the council. YUU. I finally rolled over, and, remembering him telling me I had dark circles, tried to keep my promise to push everything else out of my mind for a while and get some sleep.